Security officer at an independent living senior apartment complex here. See women doing the strangest things sometimes. Sitting at front desk around midnight. Camera placements are retarded, management doesn't care. Few blind spots near me, cause I'm at the main intersection of the building. No one around from what I can see. Start fucking around on my laptop. It's muted, turned off smooth jazz music an hour ago. Can hear everything on the floor basically. Suddenly. There's muttering near me. Been checking the monitors, didn't see anyone even leave their apartments. Just to note, all of the cameras are on the first floor and basement, but mostly the first floor. So while a person can manage to slip through the blind spots, I almost always hear them coming because none of these fuckers use the stairs and always slam their doors. Muttering gets more intense, see no one on the cameras. Starting to get a bit bugged out. Stand up and move to blind spot behind lobby area. See nobody in any direction of the hallways. Curse, then go and sit down again. Decide to just relax and watch some King of the Hill to kill time. 5 minutes in, hear someone start talking to me from behind glass pane behind me. Did ya like the cartoon? Practically jump out of my fucking seat. Swivel around and see a bug-eyed glasses wearing woman peeking around the corner, staring at me. Freeze up, too confused to bother responding. She repeats it. Even louder this time. Yes. Slinks away silently. Not a goddamn sound made at all except for her quiet muttering. Somewhat unnerved at this point. Decide to grab the security keys and walk out the front door for some air. Flip switch to lock door in place. So it won't close and lock me out. Sit outside for 5 minutes, calm down enough to get annoyed at lady. Go back towards the door. It's shut. See lady leaned over front desk. Near switch. She's staring at me. Seriously annoyed at this point. Stare her down while I put the security keys to the lock. It opens. She scurries around the corner. I follow. No trace, but I heard a door slam down one of the hallways. Lean over desk and scope out monitors. Nothing, but saw a shitty painting right where the blind spot starts. Head to painting. Literally only one room after the supers that's in the blind spot. Get her room number. Check tenant listing. Get her name down. Write up report. Night ruined by this strange woman. Finish shift and head home to sleep before 4 to 12 shift. Another note, it's a HUD building. So any old person can get these swanky apartments for like $200 a month. More so if there's something wrong with them. It's also partially owned by a management group who bought it from a convent of nuns across the street. Nuns retain a lot of staying power though, close ties to the tenants, and work in the building most of the time. Basically, temperamental women you don't want to fuck with. Cause they'll turn on you quick if you get on their bad side. As soon as I get in. See 4 major nuns at the front desk, all regulars, just never together in one spot. See a cardboard cutout of Pope Francis behind desk. Greet them all, they just turn around and look at me expectantly. Wonder what the fuck their problem is as I put down my backpack and coffee. I'm ahead of the 15-minute period for shift change. Nun behind desk hands over yellow paper to this fat nun who's a complete control freak. It's my incident report. She starts lecturing me on why I can't harass the tenants like that and file unnecessary reports like that. Wait for her to finish. Tell her that weirdo tried locking me out of the building. Fat nun accuses me of standing outside the entire shift. Tell her I had the keys to get back in. Fat nun says I shouldn't have left the area behind the desk in the first place. Tell her the constant heat from the vents is uncomfortable. She's getting pissed. I'm getting equally pissed. Fat nun brings up keys again. Well, if you had the keys, there's no problem to speak of. Tell her a tenant still locked me out and that isn't acceptable behavior by any standard and could have caused serious safety issues. She laughs. Security Anon, you're basically a secretary. You aren't keeping anyone safe. That really pisses me off. Other nuns are getting upset at what the fat nun just said. She storms off, telling me not to harass the weirdo woman again. 90% dead nun behind desk looks up with me with her huge ass glasses. Don't worry about her. You always have someone watching you. Instantly think back to the woman from last night. They're confused by the look on my face, then one points to the cutout of Pope Francis. Switch spots with her and shift continues without problems for a few hours. Another note to break up the flow, I'm not allowed to touch the tenants under any circumstances. This includes if they ask for my help with something, if they fell over and want help getting up, etc. There've been a few times where someone's fallen over right in front of me and I can't do anything about it other than call 911. It's 10 p.m. Quiet as fuck, turned off smooth jazz music. No movement on the camera save for some old Italian guy who plays pool for like 5 hours at a time. Hear mumbling again. Didn't see anything on the cameras. Hear hissing now. Sounds like a bothered cat. Stand up immediately. Head around the desk with my coffee. See that woman lying on her back on the floor. Just have to fucking stop and process what I'm seeing. Lady is just moaning and griping. Can't tell if she's playing or actually hurt. Go towards her and crouch down. Ask her what happened. Her bug eyes lock onto mine. She grabs my shoulder and fucking pulls me towards her. I was caught off guard, so I actually got pulled in about 6 inches from her gnarled ass face. She fucking hisses in my face. Launches spit and phlegm at me. Instantaneous reaction shot. Rip her off of me and drop her goddamn head to the floor. I'm stumbling back and falling over, rubbing the fuck out of my face with my sleeve. Still feel that stuff on my face. She's wailing like a motherfucker now. Super's door is like 10 feet away. He hears the noise and comes out. Dude is a bro, so he doesn't even jump to the conclusion that I just let the senile, 80-year-old woman drop her head on the fucking floor. He asks what happened. Can barely hear him over this lady's yelling. Pull him to side and explain that she fell trying to sneak up on me, then lunged at me when I went to check out the sound. He looks bewildered as fuck but doesn't question it. Tell me to call 911 and send them here for her. A bit redundant, but English isn't his first language anyway. Comply to build up the view that I was cooperative and without blame. Don't care how deceptive at this point, don't want a lawsuit or jail time. Call cops, tell them someone fell. Might have had a seizure or something. They come within 2 minutes. Lady isn't as loud now, but is still loud enough to attract the attention of tenants in their rooms. People see this woman thrashing around on the ground with 2 men standing over her. I open the doors and turn them off so the first aid can come in and out without problems. Get another incident report ready along with a notepad and pen. Laughing internally at how well this is going despite the fact I desperately want to apply a vat of disinfectant to my face. Police roll on through, get their badge numbers and point them to the woman flopping around like a fish behind the area of my desk. They look at me for a moment before trying to talk to her. No success. She's resisting like a PCP abuser. Cops pull out their first aid kits and do their thing while I motion for the other tenants to return to their rooms. Not a single one does. Hear car pulling up. Fat nun runs in, glaring at me. Passes me, but not before grabbing my current incident report and the one from yesterday. Tears them in half right in front of my face. Walks off before I can say anything. I'm fucking fuming, but keep it together. Don't want to incriminate myself. Ask cops if there's anything I can do to help. They politely tell me no. Weirdo lady is mostly calmed down now cause of Fat Nun's presence. I ask if she's going to be alright. Fat Nun tries to hush me, cops cut her off. She has a small bump on her head, but she should be fine. The EMTs are probably gonna want to take her to the hospital though. Lo and behold, EMTs arrive and say exactly that. They've apparently dealt with this woman before. Probably have had the barrage of bodily fluids ejected at their faces as well. Show silent sympathy for both them and cops. Tell them I wrote an incident report, but none tore it up before I could finish. I'm redoing it anyway, ask if they want me to make a copy. They say yes. Do so and make a duplicate in the office nearby. Bring it out right as the EMTs are leaving with lady. Lock eyes with her. Hear loud hissing all the way to the ambulance. Rest of shift is uneventful. Next shift on next day. Mad fucking tired, mostly because of late night whackering and an unrelated nightmare. Come into work with a nice Philly cheesesteak and some fries. Gonna spend the next few hours fucking around without interruption. That's exactly what doesn't happen. Be around 9 p.m. Sipping from iced tea while movement on cameras attracts my attention. Blue Camry pulls up. Out comes Fat Nun and Weirdo. Instantly feel a wave of fucking dread pass over me. Get an intensely bad feeling for whatever reason. Consider letting them get in themselves. Decide against it. Open door before they can do unlock it. Nun just gives me this look like she wants me to get shanked from my dick to my eye. Smile at her. Welcome them back from the hospital. Silently wondering why the fuck she was there for that long for a small bump. Don't bother asking. Fat Nun comes up to me. Did you trip her? I'm kicking speechless. Tell her she better have a damn good reason for making an accusation like that when her buddy was the one who's been harassing and stalking me. She doesn't like hearing that. I'll be contacting your company first thing tomorrow morning. Shrug and get behind desk. She escorts lady to her room. Swivel my chair around to watch them pass the glass pane behind me. None doesn't even look my way. Weird lady's head is hanging back limply as she walks by. Her eyes are directed at me as her head bobs past. I become unnerved, but then remember I have someone watching me at all times anyway, so no harm will come to me. Look back at Pope Francis. He's watching. Shift continues until around 11 p.m. Sorry, got distracted by this lady just now. She coughed really loudly, if anyone cares. Some old guy who's cool with me starts dropping info. It was odd because he's normally asleep hours beforehand. Said he wanted to drop in and share the squirrel talk. Guy loves to fucking share gossip despite me not wanting to hear any of it. Get very interested when he mentions the weird lady's name and the fat nun's name. Ask him why this lady is batshit crazy. You mean between the embalming fluid injections and brimstone baths? I nod, if only to get this motherfucker to just tell me what he knows. Well, if it isn't obvious, the old bag has dementia. All clicks into place. Sorta, I suppose. I don't know jack shit about mental diseases or disorders, so I just assume that means she's legitimately insane. He walks off, wishing me good luck and that most of the old ladies would vouch for me if my job was at stake anyway. Shift continues for 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes before I finish my shift. Nothing of note happens until I hear a loud bang. Someone slammed their door for some reason. Instantly get suspicious. Assume the woman is now changing her tactics to counter my half-assed detection skills. Stand and just watch the monitors, ready for any damn thing that might happen. Hear nothing else, then see the woman pass from behind me. Doesn't bother sneaking, I guess. Shrug it off as she walks to the front desk, still alert and suspicious as any good private security officer should be. Of course, when they're telling you all about what you need to know for security work while you're surrounded by the ghettoest people in Newark, they don't mention shit like this. They also didn't mention the fucking intense smell that was now slowly shuffling towards me. You know that primordial feeling you get in your gut when you know something bad is going to happen? That was how I was feeling at that point. At this point I'm cursing to myself because whatever the hell this woman is planning, I already know I'm not going to like it. She comes around a pain and the smell doesn't fade in any way. It's intense, but not so much that I'm dry heaving and gagging. It doesn't stop bothering me though. She eyeballs me as she walks up to the desk and for probably the 100th time. I'm glad their desk has a chest-high barrier for privacy. I seen your hungrer. She's loud to an ungodly degree. I assume she must be deaf too, because no normal person talks that loud without reason or disability. Don't bother saying anything back, just shake my head. She's referencing the lack of dinner I brought for the shift, I assume. Didn't matter, I was planning on eating some fast food or some shit on the way home. Eventually tell her that I'm not hungry, because it's been a full 10 minutes and she hasn't left yet. Just waiting for my relief to show up and take over so I can leave. Silently wishing the Trinidadian guy actually shows up 15 minutes ahead like most guards do as a sign of courtesy. She continues staring at me. Then reaches into her bathrobe pocket. Start panicking. Just wait. Cops get involved. Time itself seems to fucking slow down to 1/10 of its normal speed. Somehow, and I have no idea how, this lady managed to exploit the one phobia I go fucking nuts over. She pulls out a damnable muffin. Keep in mind, this wasn't any ordinary fucking muffin. I have no idea what it was in a previous life or day and age or whatever the fuck, but this thing she was holding out towards me was something straight from the very bowels, either hell or the woods nearby. This thing is inconceivable. It's a muffin that's literally rooted to the fucking bottom and through the paper with fungi. Covered almost entirely in some fuzzy blue and black and white shit, with stalks twice the size of the original thing just sticking out. Mind is racing. Blood is pumping. Body is heating up. Heart is a Formula 1 car. If it isn't really obvious, fungi is the one thing I react really badly to. I don't just backstep in response. I goddamn slam myself back against the wall to distance myself. Pain is ignored, I'm just trying to not inhale whatever goddamn spores try to dig into my lungs. Tear off tie and wrap it around my mouth as an impromptu gas mask, start hyperventilating. Lady literally doesn't change her facial expression at all. Must be half blind too considering how enormous her glasses are. She has the gall to reach over my desk, dropping bits of her mushroom muffin all over, and pluck a damn tissue from the box on my desk. Places muffin on there and then sets it down on my laptop. Promptly lose my shit and tell her to take that thing back with her and leave before I call the super. Of course, this agitates her and once again, I'm not prepared neither mentally nor physically to withstand her onslaught. She leaves the muffin there and reaches into her other pocket. The smell is now even worse. It's the journey that's worth it, not the spoilers, my brother. Tension and aggravation rising. She pulls out what I assumed, in my utmost folly, to be a chocolate donut from Dunkin' Donuts. I'm both confused and extremely on edge, so I'm just looking between her and the donut for a good 10 seconds. She holds it out towards me, but I'm still about 6 feet away. Trying to do what I can to calm myself down, it's not working. The excessive heat combined with the fact I'm wearing like 3 layers is starting to stack with the stress from the situation. I am now sweating. Try sidling against the wall towards the front door. She simply arches her arm closer. It becomes a stalemate. If I move, she gets closer. If I stay, My resolve starts breaking apart quicker. Keep in mind, I'm still having a panic attack, I think, over this muffin thing. Eventually, she relents. My fucking heart skips a beat. Takes a millionth of a second to realize this is my chance to vamoose. Stop when I see her take a bite of the donut. Something in my head isn't registering. I know something is up with the donut because it looks crusty as fuck, but I don't know what. Then, I notice something rather peculiar about that donut. Why, if there is a God, would there be pieces of corn in that dried up donut? After carefully considering it in my moment of severe mental anguish, I came to the realization that this woman had just eaten a dried up piece of shit. I crumble right there. I wasn't prepared for anything like this. I've never expected to have to deal with anything like this in my life. In retrospect, I realize I may sound like a little bitch by reacting like this, but I can only take so much random bullshit at any given time. I'm now gagging, doing my best to not vomit all over the desk. I'm trying to understand why this woman is doing this to both of us. It makes absolutely no sense. This lady has been keeping a muffin incubating with fungi in her room for God knows how long. Also found the time to dry her shit while getting it into that shape. In other words, my sanity meter had basically went from 70 to 10% in around 3 minutes. I'm doing a full body cringe at that moment. I'm trying not to lose my shit. But she just knew how to push every single button. How could she possibly make this worse, you ask? She spoke. This crazy surreal bitch spoke with a mouthful of dried shit. Do you recall when I mentioned she hissed at me and that launched god-awful fluids my direction? The same concept applied in this case. It brought a new meaning to shit flinging. Half-chewed pieces were being spat my way as she gargled her words and tried shouting something. I fucking dived to the side of my desk. The reaction was so fast you'd think I was practiced my whole life for it. The back of my head may have slammed against the marble in my panic, but I was at least out of the blast cone. Or, that's what I assumed, at least. The journey goes on. And gets worse with one last effort from her. My teeth are vice-like tight. I feel something flaky land on the top of my head. I exhale quietly, about to resign myself to this hellish nightmare. But that wasn't an option. Cliché, but I'm too unwilling to just let this go on. I smack whatever shit particles managed to land on my head and bolt upright. Which of course was a bad idea because I smashed my head against the marble edge of the desk while getting up. I sit the fuck back down because that blow was something else. Gave myself 5 seconds before I force my body up and reach for my phone. I was going to call the goddamn cops over this shit. I don't give a fuck about my job at this point. Unfortunately, in my absence, she took the time to reach into the same pocket as earlier and produce another piece shit. This time it was fresh. She had planned this ahead of time. I'm caught like a deer in headlights. Her arms are slightly back. She was going to throw it. Side note. I believe sincerely that under stressful circumstances people can either fall apart entirely or show great bravery in the face of whatever fucking thing decided to ruin their day. I then decided to retaliate. It was like some shit from a movie. In that split second, I had enough of all of these fucking little games she was playing. I sidestepped fast and did the one thing I knew would actually shield me. Thank fucking God, all that's holy, every other cosmic variable and whatever the fuck else that he was watching over me. Pope fucking smiling human shield Francis saving the day. I got behind his tall and imposing yet warm stature and let him take the brunt of the fresh shit flung my way. My eyes shot open fully once I felt the blow. It was the weirdest mix of elation and anger I've ever felt. I could feel my eyes fucking stinging as the relief won over. But it wasn't over yet. As a security officer, it was my sworn obligation to never pacify threats under penalty of the law. I didn't give a flying fuck anymore. Once I was sure she wasn't reloading, I struck. Taking the cutout of the Pope, I used the stand on the back to turn him to an actual shield. A shield of faith if you will, probably not. Peek out of cover very carefully, and assess that she's absolutely terrified or enamored at the moment. Realize she's fucking thrown off guard by Francis. I'm not sure how to properly describe the feeling, but it was like this revelation breathed new life into me. I knew her fucking weakness. Or not, who knows. I'd try anyway. I lifted Francis up and swung his head sideways, smacking the shit out of her ear with the thin edge. You know that glossy corrugated cardboard material? It's fucking tough and sharp. Is it painful? Well, ask her. Thing is, you can't. She's fucking screeching at this point. I'm not talking about a monkey's screech or some playful shit like that. She's going all in. Thankfully, I somehow managed to knock off those 2-ton glasses from her cracked face. I assume that's her real weakness because once that happened she went down, right onto her fucking haunches like a goddamn animal being beaten into submission. I'm just standing there, blinking. I accidentally lose my grip on Francis as I'm going forward to look over the front desk's counter. He cuts off my foot from stepping in the shit that slid off of his chest. At this point, I don't even know what to make of him. It could be coincidences, it could be divine intervention, all I know is Pope smack a bitch upside the head. Francis saved me mad times that night. Of course, as I'm thinking about this, I failed to realize the super came out again, along with half the residents on that floor. Exhale loudly in relief and tear my uniform shirt out from pants to unwind. Super sees me holding Francis defensively, and then the woman hunched over on the floor. Doesn't say a damn word, just goes for the phone and hits up the fat nun and the cops. The next 2 hours were absolutely amazing in comparison to that 1/2 hour. Cops are here, first aid squad, and a few nuns from across the street. I'm just lying back in my seat with my feet kicked up, thankfully without shit on them. It was strange, but despite being interrogated by police, I was completely at peace. I forcefully pacified an insane bitch who not only collected a fungus muffin and her own shit but ate her own shit. Not everything was right in the world, but things were okay, at an equilibrium. But fat nun and police weren't having that. Police were definitely suspect of me abusing the woman because she was more mentally handicapped than a goddamn box of thimbles. But they also knew that she was legitimately crazy. Fat nun wanted to press charges for assault. I just start fucking laughing right in her face. I'm sure I must have looked just as much a lunatic as her, but these people hadn't seen what I'd gone through. Not yet, not yet. At least. So I casually bring up the camera footage and how anyone with the key to the office like the super, could replay it to see what really happened. She gets cocky and instantly assumes it'll absolve her retarded friend from blame. Police obviously want to see what the hell caused shit to be on the floor. I also assume that the mushroom muffin caught their eye as well. Side note, I conquered most of my fear of Fun Guy through this. I still get uneasy around it, but I'm no longer afraid. One cop goes into the office with me, the super, and the fat nun. We play back the footage and lo and behold, each of them watch in disgust as I'm basically diving and ducking out of the way from, you guessed it, shit. I'm occasionally looking at fat nun to gauge her reactions, and she was definitely not pleased. Cop and super gave me the most sympathetic look a man gave to another without homoeroticism. But still, fat nun hadn't had enough to sate her thirst for my blood. Yes, the fault I was assaulted with what should be classified as biological warfare/terrorism wasn't enough for her. She needed to prove me guilty of something, of course. She told me that you hit her head against the floor the other night. Why don't we look at that? Think about that for a second. Wait. That might actually come on the footage. I might actually get in trouble over that. Fucking hell. All that for nothing? I wasn't backing down though. I still enough adrenaline pumping into me for me to engage into battle mode on a whim. Her challenge only made me more confident. I still had faith that I would get through this. Tell her that we should do exactly that. We do, and guess what? The glass pane behind the desk clearly shows me going to her after she fell. But it would definitely show me dropping her head. Yet, in only a moment, I'm filled with nothing but pure victory. Happiness even. Pope Gahenaga's back. Francis effectively covered up what happened with his visage. No evidence of any wrongdoing, just me trying to help her. All I can focus on as tears threaten to come out is his fucking smiling face. The slick bastard was watching me the entire time, and was in the exact spot he needed to be in to save my ass. I fucking felt alive again. In the end, I learned a few things. The shit woman was forced to attend senior rehab classes to help curb her behavior, the nun had bipolar disorder and basically lost all credibility with the convent, and I was absolved of all blame by the cops. I realized that the world works in strange ways. Pope Francis was cleaned up and at my request, now guards over the security guards behind the desk. The informant from earlier says the tenants now call me Nutbuster instead of Cutie now. And my boss gave a raise of about $1. Not great, but not bad. And that's my story. Tell me what you think, ask questions, etc.